We're going to pick some bans, though, knowing that Obey had a very good game against Dig, and this is a good little test for both Dig and Obey, especially a matchup that, you know, on paper could go either way. Technically, Dig favorites. It's a good way to end the season.
I don't see Obey going down without a fight here,
Nah.
not even against Dignitas. They might be the first seed from Europe, but that doesn't mean that Obey is incapable of competing with them. I think also it's fair to say that Game 1 possibly should have even been Obey's for the taking.
They
Just a couple of little mistakes, and that's all it really takes for a team like Dignitas to punish.
And that's the reason I was bringing up this Dig Obey match as a whole, because that first game, whoever wins, it doesn't technically really matter now. I mean, it would have for Obey technically, but now it's over. This set is just good for both these teams to warm up for placements or for Worlds, because it's their first real last chance they've got. Athena, Arpwash, Morrigan, Circa at the bans means that Dignitas get Freya once more. Will Obey go for the Mercury earlier?
It is interesting, though, to see that Obey, they lose, but still would rather have Dignitas in that first pick position. I think that Odin is a great direction to head in, but taking away the Chernobog also is going to be pretty important here, because that just means that Dignitas, they won't be able to flex as easily if they might have been thinking about putting Freya into the hunter role, possibly.
This Odin pick from Obey so early again. It's not often that I've seen Dignitas play that much Odin. They're not going to really run it on Cuvo in the jungle. Maybe in the solo lane at best. Could you have held it for longer? I think you could have. That's where I'm at. And maybe take something else instead. It's not that the pick's bad. I just think the pick in position of it could have been later on in the draft.
What, you mean Obey Odin?
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually really like the Odin.
Pick?
I like the Odin because it does force Dignitas away from going towards the Mercury. I think that if it wasn't for the Odin, I think that we definitely see Cuvo trying to run Mercury. And I mean, Dignitas, even as soon as they get to the 3rd and 4th picks ban stage, this is the same picks bans that they were looking for in the Game 1. They took away the Mercury, and RDO might shortly follow that.
That's fair. So Zeus gets picked up again for PrettyPriMe in the mid lane. RTO Mercury banned once again by Dignitas. Back over to Obey for what they want to run for, potentially their solo lane and their jungle. Erlang Shen once more. It looks like Obey are pretty much running it back.
I'm looking at the Hunter ban choices there. Rom and Jingwei, all eyes on Arkkyl from Obey this game.
What was it in Game 1? They banned Rom and something else. Was it Amhat?
It was Ullr.
Ullr. Okay, that makes sense. That does make sense. Now, Fafnir also been picked up now for Dignitas, which is very useful. Ullr will be the one that's selected instead to take on the Chernobog in the laning phase. And Obey have one more pick, more than likely. And
Be sure to grab some brew.
Solo lane.
Obey knew what was coming next as well. They knew that by banning away the Jingwei, that would limit Arkkyl survivability options for the Hunter pick selection. So instead of going for something a little bit more safe here, Arkkyl is just going to try to double down with damage for the rest of his team. I think that having a strong side lane or a strong dual lane is also going to help compensate for possible lack of pressure coming out of mid-jungle early on.
Do Dig 2-0 this? That's the question we asked you in Mixer Chat. What about you, Taco? Are you feeling Dig for Game 2?
I think we see a Game 3 here. I'm going Obey.
Okay.
That draft is too sick.
Maybe we get a Game 3. What is it? What is it about the draft? It's the same draft.
It's not the same draft though. It's an insane amount of control though. It is the same draft, but it's not the same.
I saw you look at your sheet and go, it's a different draft. It's not the same. Oh wait.
Yeah, I was about to finish right in the process of repeating, and then I realized I could just slide down. But I honestly think that this is an insane draft for Obey. I thought it was a sick draft in Game 1, but
we're winning.
Dignitas also have just been playing phenomenally all season long, so it's hard to want to go against them.
That's fair. Well, Taco's going to Obey here. What do you guys at home think? Let's get it over to the casters though for Game 2. Can Dig close it out here?
Thanks, Hindu. Thanks, Taco. Going into Game 2, Obey up against Team Dignitas, and largely the same. I believe it's just Arkkyl who's going with a different look as the Jingwei was banned away. See if they can make it work. Take 2.
I do think it's a pretty big difference, though, that Arkyl's on this Ullr, because if you're going late game, you'd much rather have Jingwei than have the Ullr. And last game went late game, even with Dignitas getting that win, it took them a while to kind of ramp up. I think that I'm surprised that Arkkyl didn't go to his Ullr. I think Ullr would have been a little bit better for him here, as he's actually got to use beads because he's basically pinned in that spot because of the horrific emblem by iRaffer, and that's definitely a win. You got Shell there as well, so definitely a win for iRaffer to use that horrific emblem, something he's been a fan of as of late.
They are being outcleared, though, and got to be careful. iRaffer now very low, and Trixtank can keep right on going, but the jump's still available, so iRaffer able to reposition. Should be able to heal up quite nicely. You know, it is a different idea, and if they're worried about the late game, then this could be a problem. But the problem wasn't late game; it got away from them like in the mid game, right? So maybe this Ullr can keep it from going 40 minutes for them, and that's sort of the idea, right? We'd have won that game even sooner if we had a little bit more early game presence. Could kind of be what they were thinking.
I can understand that thought process. I just don't know that I necessarily agree with it.
Right.
I think that having a better mid-game team fight would probably be a little bit better, and on her just brings more.
That's true.
In that regard. I think that if Arkkyl feels like he can really bully Ataraxia in lane, then this Ullr pick will be great. But on her bullies pretty well himself, don't forget.
Twig trying to get the chase down onto Zyrhoes, who does not have a ton of mana to his name. The knockup is there. Zyrhoes going to look for a little bit of follow-up damage, but Prime misses. That might have been enough.
Zyrhoes does use the beads, and indeed that is. Prime, I think, should have just played it patiently. I mean, no reason. Your 1 and your 2 on Zeus, and your 3, it's all 10 seconds for your cooldowns. So if the 1 was up, the 2 was coming up soon.
Aggression, though, from Arkkyl. Ataraxia has the beads for the turnaround and is able to just barely survive. But going back to that fight, I mean, that's certainly first blood that's dropped. Are you saying he needs to wait for the shield in that situation?
Yes, yeah. Guarantee the bounce. There's no way Freya's going to get far enough away from you to end up being able to outrange that bounce in that spot. I think that if you just continue to walk after her, if Chain Lightning is coming up, that means that your shield's coming up not long after, because they're the same cooldown depending on how long you use them apart. Looks like Prime would have had it up in time, certainly. And look, if he hits Chain Lightning, that's also a kill. So
that's true.
Analysis of, hey, hit your stuff isn't quite as interesting, but it's relevant a lot of the time.
And that is tough. When you're going around those angles, around the wall, especially those line abilities, it can sometimes be kind of tough where you have a second where you can hit it, but they only need to get like past one little clip, and then you can't hit them any longer. But that's why the patience that you mentioned was so important. They had a chance to grab that kill if they could have landed one more ability.
But Zero stays up, does lose the beads, so watch out for Twig, who goes beads again himself. No blink early on for this Erlang Shen. Needs to respect that Fear No Evil a little bit too much coming from QvoFred. And Qvo went blink at level 1 in game 1 of this set as well, but didn't really get punished for it. Qvo was very, very patient. I would even go as far as say conservative with his positioning a lot of the times, because he was so concerned with the damage coming from Obey. It was always him initiating and then immediately exiting. No thoughts of trying to stick around and he's going to try and sneak in an auto here or there. I mean, Qvo was in and he was out, or he was out from the beginning. A lot of fights where Zeros would get picked early on. Qvo wouldn't even come to the fight after that. He was out of there. He was farming. So that's something that I think Obey Alliance could try and identify as maybe we could have done this a little bit better. Maybe they could have killed Qvo a little bit more than they did.
Last game, did we see any Magai's clutch from the carries, like Prime and Ataraxia? I wonder if that's something that would have been worth. I know you lose a ton of damage from it, but the Blink ultimate from QvoFred was so oppressive, so stifling, that maybe it's worth losing a little bit of damage.
I don't disagree. I think that on Prime in particular, I wouldn't have minded to see it.
Sure.
Zeus's damage is very relevant anyways. He had Soul Gem last game. Soul Gem is very good on Zeus, but I don't think it's a necessity. Zeus has a lot of items that he really wants to buy and just frankly doesn't have room for all of them. That'd be a good place to buff him. We should let Zeus buy 7 items. No one else can, though. Hindu said we could buff Zeus's ultimate, so maybe I'll ask him about that instead.
Did he say that? Why would he say that?
I don't know. He said Zeus. We could buff Zeus's ult.
Yeah, what if instead of just a circle, it just covered the map, like the sky just got lightning-y everywhere?
It is pretty unrealistic when you think about how a lightning storm would be that local. Like,
yeah, that's weird.
It would really cover the whole map. That's a good point.
Yeah, Zeus needs that as
And
variety
you'd be slow.
gets pulled back in, and Xaliea maximizes the pull time. They drop the cage, and that's an easy first blood. It goes to Twig. Obey Alliance able to shut down the Terra one more time.
Xaliea hasn't even backed for boots quite yet, so he's only getting stronger from that gank, and you called it. That's easy. That's easy mode for Obey Alliance, and as good as Terra is when you get the ganks going in your way, when it's the other way, she also has a tough time getting away from you because Life of the Party is so good at killing one target.
But I hope that is recognition that Terra is a viable target again, and not just a continuation of kill the Terra from last game, because it was too much of that. Like,
Yes.
the game went too late, and Variety was no longer going to die, but they kept going to it. We'll see if that changes as Twig finds the taunt. Zyrhoes goes up into the air to get away from the damage coming out from Prime. iRaffer tries to hunt him down, but the axe is there coming out from the Ullr, and now iRaffer's juking inside the breath. He's dead.
Quick kill for Team Dignitas. iRaffer just too aggressive. Didn't really respect how far zoned the rest of Obey Alliance was in that fight. Living Nightmare was down from Ataraxia, so he couldn't join in on that engagement. No way for him to try and help out iRaffer from that far forward. So just too aggressive there from iRaffer.
But this is an important set for a lot of reasons. For seeding, for where the teams go in the placement, for first seed, for all that stuff, yes. But it's also just important in terms of knowing where these teams are as they move back in, as they move into these next stages, right, into these LAN environments. Obey are on the uprise. A win up against Dig is big for them, but Dig kind of shutting them down and going, okay, I like that y'all looking better, but we're still Dig. Either one of those means a lot for the respective team.
I still think that Obey Alliance is going to come into the placement stages feeling confident, even if they get 2-0'd here. I think that the way that they played in the fall split as a whole would be a little bit heavier than the weight of losing this set to the top seed in Europe.
Sure.
But that being said, I'm sure they really want to win, and I'm sure it would really help their confidence if they did. So Obey certainly not going to give up any picks, not going to show something that they've been working on necessarily, but will absolutely be trying to go into placements on a high note.
Ends up working out in their favor. At least if Dignitas were to win, it certainly could be something they could take in with them. Maybe not as meaningful as if it went the other way. Let's go back. It looks like we might have a brief moment here. We can go back and take a look at Twig is the one that got the credit for that actual first blood that we saw come out at the expense of Variety over in the solo lane.
Variety just a little bit too far forward, but not even, I mean, he's not even that far forward. Look at how far back he's moved by Xalia's life of the party. And Twig ganks basically at this exact point in game 1, does it again here in game 2. That's it's right as soon as he's hit level 5 and his Berserker shield is on the way.
And I liked it from Xaliea too, just maximizing the pull. I like when we can see that from those Barons, getting the most out of them. The pull duration sometimes is better than the stun. Like, if you can get someone on the other side of a wall and they're kind of just stuck to it on the other side, that can feel pretty good a lot of times as well. So Xaliea getting the most out of it.
Have you ever ridden the carnival ride that's like that, where it spins real fast and you're like sucked into the wall because of it?
I definitely know what you're talking about, but I'm not a carnival ride person. I get very sick.
So do I.
Yeah.
And I was going to say I've only ridden it once, and I definitely threw up afterwards.
They're hot. There's a ton of people there. And I'm not a huge fan of people yet. I'm, like, not sold. So for me...
Why are you saying yet as if that's going to change?
It could. I'm only 25.
Okay, well, you're right. I don't think it will.
No, probably not. Up until now, I haven't been very much persuaded. But yeah, they're not my scene.
Good call. I haven't ridden a carnival ride in many years, and I hope that I can continue to say that many years from now.
What a crazy idea, right? Guys, what if we make these death machines that are made to be deassembled and reassembled every single day as we move from town to town? What a great idea.
Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
Dignitas Obey Alliance go back, though, to trading blows. Or at least the blows they traded early on. Things have slowed down a bit since that early game start. And for good reason. A lot is riding on this game for both these teams. Neither one of these teams have to particularly get off the ground running immediately. They could all certainly still be relevant throughout the mid-game and once the laning phase breaks down. So no reason not to farm it up.
Dig has the slight advantage, but it's incredibly slight, as Variety once again falls victim to the same plan, but this time Quvo is here to support. Cage not even dropped by iRaffer. It wasn't even necessary.
CaptainTwig used the bead so he could stand inside the Fear No Evil and keep up the aggression onto Variety. That's the second kill for Obey, the second kill on Variety, and very reminiscent of Game 1 in that they're focusing out this Terra. It's just they've got to show us this time they can transition that beyond. If I'm being kind of matter-of-fact about it, it's because it's what we saw work with this exact same comp against these largely the same gods on the other side, and it still wasn't enough.
Well, that's twice in a row now that Ataraxia has used the Living Nightmare just as a, I would like assist golden experience, please, button.
Right, he doesn't actually fly over.
No, he immediately goes up, gives vision as well to Obey Alliance so they understand how much time they have in the coming gank. But really, it's so that Ataraxia is getting that assist as well. It'll get him some stacks on Devo gloves. It'll set him a little bit ahead of Arkkyl, at least in theory, though. Of course, Ullr is the lane pressure bully, so don't expect Arkkyl to play too passively in that lane, even with the 2 assists for Ataraxia.
Not unlike Xaliea, where it can be kind of annoying, even if you're holding even in lane, right? He can get kind of like global participation for free.
And like when you watch a Neath in your lane ult and kill someone in solo, you're like, come on, man, you just fed my lane.
Right? Yeah, I've been doing great over here, keeping this Neath down. Yeah, and then they're able to get a bit of an advantage. Ataraxia just needs it to stay even, though. He's against an Ullr who has a lot of pressure right around now. Transcendence finished. Boots are there as well. Starting to work on his next pin item, which I imagine will be Crusher or something of that variety. So Arkyl's in a good spot, and Ataraxia can use all the help he can get.
Did lose the purification beads as Arkkyl came out of the jungle, and Chernobog right onto iRaffer. Good burst damage coming from Arkkyl, who needs just one more shot to get it done, and indeed he does. Good kill out of Arkkyl in the duo lane for Dignitas, but Twig is here, gets the beads out from Arkkyl this time, but Arkkyl says, no, we're done here. This engagement's over. You can go back now.
So iRaffer has hardword, which means that QvoFred and Arkkyl can likely just keep doing that.
Yes, that's the plan. We will continue to do that until you get enough to make us respect it. Now, he does have Horrific Emblem as well, which makes it a little bit harder for them to keep up with him as he's running away, and that's why Arkkyl didn't have to use the beads right away there. He used them whenever Twig came in and used the ultimate, but Horrific is an annoyance, I would say, for Qvo and Arkkyl, but maybe Shell would have been enough to get him out.
Yeah, it's not going to be particularly difficult for these two physical damage dealers, but Gold Fury is being burned quite quickly by Obey. That was all that it took. Lightning Storm burns the Gold Fury, and Obey Alliance now grab the objective.
Good pull from Obey, and that one did not seem to be a, we don't feel like we're ready to, we don't want to contest at this point. I think that Dignitas was just a little bit too late in order to join that one, as Xaliea pulls back QvoFred. No beads for the monkey, but I don't know if Xaliea has the damage by himself. That will fall. Oh my goodness, that did a lot of damage. He did have the damage by himself, but Twig still there and necessary to clean it up. Again, Ataraxia uses Living Nightmare to make sure that he gets the assist and that Obey is safe.
But a good thing that Twig was there, I agree. While 99% of the work was done by Xaliea and Pyromancer will go down, the nice jump from QvoFred back the opposite direction, I think, would have been enough. And so it's a good thing Twig was there to at least make sure that kill actually gets complete. But Xaliea swinging very early on with the Voidstone cooldown boots. Apparently that's all he needs.
Consigned Spirits is a really good ability, and everyone thinks of it as the big heal, the movement speed, the slow cleanser. It does all those things, and it also does a good amount of damage. I mean, 290 plus 70% in the early game isn't too bad. That'll definitely chunk you early on.
Xaliea getting the most out of it this time, able to punish QvoFred coming over to solo. He actually got the ultimate out from QvoFred, I believe. And remember, Qvo goes this blink early on. He doesn't have beads available if he does get locked down. He needs to get away from that pull. He was stuck in life of the party for the full duration. There wasn't any hysteria really on him. He just didn't have the jump and got pulled back in.
That's good recognition by Xaliea as well, that is the case. Understanding that as soon as Qvo uses the jump, life of the party is a guaranteed stun, as long as no one gets in between Qvo and Xalea's coffin. So it won't last for much longer. Qvo's already level 12, can back and get purification beads anytime he wants, but for the moment, it worked out very well.
Is that a thing coffins normally do?
What's that?
Suck people in? That's
Yeah,
pretty wild.
How do you think the people get in there?
I guess it's a good point. Yeah, you can't just hop in, right?
No.
They're dead.
Right.
That doesn't, yeah, okay. I'm sold. I've been sold on that's just how coffins work. That was easy. We can move on.
The morgue is a very dangerous place because of it.
Right.
I guess, wait,
that's why I wouldn't go.
It'd be funeral homes that
Yes,
have
yes,
them.
yes,
So
yes.
yeah, if you're a funeral home director, you need to do a lot of safety precautions, and they spend a lot of time training in those wind tunnels.
Yes, they do a lot of that. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, you got to have really good wind resistance training.
Trixtank is A-okay here in the middle lane. Not going to be getting pulled in by any coffins today, or at least not in this next fight. He's got Zyrhoes right here with him, who's been under a lot less duress. That's a big difference between Game 1 and Game 2, is that there's been no attention paid to this Freya.
Taunt on a QvoFred. Looks like didn't get a whole lot out of him, but Trixtank is transforming. He doesn't get CC'd too long, and that Lightning Storm and took very little damage from it whatsoever. That's 3 ultimates down from Obey Alliance, and Team Dignitas lost, what, 1 support ult? It's a support. It doesn't even count. Like, that's easy for Dignitas to walk away from that feeling good.
especially at this timing, right? A minute and a half before Gold Fury's back up, Pyro down as well. There's likely nothing really significant to fight over until Trixtank has that ultimate, so it's an easy trade for them to make. If something does come up, then they're the ones that are more prepared for it anyway, so not a big deal at all, I would say, for Dig. Happy to make that trade as both supports were under duress and both were able to just jump right out.
Another Divine Ruin again from PrettyPriMe, and I do think this is the right pickup. Maybe if you're really only trying to focus out Zyrhoes and Arkkyl, something else would have been a little bit better in this slot, but more often than not, you'll be caging Variety. Again, no Phantom from Team Dignitas. If it worked in the last game, why not try it again, is the idea. And again, no Blink from iRaffer, so no real changes in the way these teams have played this matchup. But Obey Alliance just goes for the salty run back nearly through and through.
Don't you like it, though, right? Just like, all right, let's just try it again.
Yeah.
You know, like you have that friend where you're like playing fighting games, they beat you, and you're just like, run it back. Same thing. Don't switch. You know, you want to try again. And that's exactly what's happening here with Obey, right? They're like, try it again. Beat us this time.
And Obey was in control of the last game. Most of the time, I'm not a fan of the salty run back, and that's because a lot of time, hold that thought, blink forward, looking for Zyrhoes, but a really good reaction time on the ultimate. That time around, Twig gonna get pushed underneath that tower, but he's fine. Had the heal coming. Ataraxia here to join as well. So everyone here for Obey Alliance outside of the solo laner, but Variety's not there either. Big commit on the mid lane. Again, 2 ultimates don't really get a whole lot of value.
And this time, the timing is very different. The Gold Fury is just about to show up. And Twig and Ataraxia's ultimates are very nice, but I gotta think QvoFred with that Fear No Evil is the biggest ultimate expended there. Earth and Fury is still great, but that's what Variety. There might be a small window where Obey could try and force this fight.
I agree. Valkyrie's Discretion is the other biggest ultimate,
yes.
I'd say, that was used. So you use 4 in total between both teams, but the 2 most important ones are both on the same side. So I like that Obey gets those and is now going straight for gold.
This is great recognition as iRaffer gets axed. But they drop the actual aggro on the Gold Fury. I think Obey might be done with this. The window is not gigantic. Hydras and Jotuns are both there. Qvo will have this Fear No Evil up before too long. Xaliea now has rotated in to be a part of this fight too. Obey are going to slow play this.
I agree with you. I think that you really do need to commit now. And Variety going to get caged. He's all alone. Lightning Storm comes down to make sure that they can get that kill. Might not have even been necessary to use Lightning Storm there because Variety was that isolated.
Cage and Lightning Storm both committed, but Fear No Evil has come back up now. Zero's not too far from his ultimate either. Twig gets blown up right away, and the jump in from iRaffer doesn't do very much to Arkkyl at all. He's full HP, and Twig has to leave on the left-hand side. Obey are still looking for picks and not the objective.
Again, I think the use of Lightning Storm is why Obey Alliance doesn't feel quite as confident, but they're going to keep trying. Trixtank under siege, beats, and A gets expended to keep his health bar up, but he is still pretty healthy, and now Trix has got to get going.
Xaliea can't find the heal and the extra movement speed. Sprint to allow Dignitas to disengage. Axe lands. So Twig takes a little bit extra damage, but this is perfect. Life for the party hitting over the wall. Arkkyl does have Aegis. Yes, but he's brought right back to the wolves. And Captain Twig gonna eat.
Qvo doesn't have that ultimate, and he's going to teleport out of danger. Arkkyl hits a nice turnaround axe, and then he decides, yeah, I can throw a bladed arrow here.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen? I'm definitely too far away for them to hit me, but the problem was he was not. And Xaliea using that life of the party beautifully.
Gold Fury started up one more time. Dig! Steal it away! Obey Alliance cannot confirm the objective. They do at least want to try and find Variety's life on the back end, and Twig will grab that. Ataraxia now joining the fray, but losing the Gold Fury hurts.
It really does. Qvo uses the beads. There was no root coming, but Twig gets his root of his own and gets a double kill for himself. We'll have turtle form soon. And yeah, he's up and out of there. I'm eagerly awaiting a replay to figure out what happened to that gold. I don't know if that was Variety in the blink forward that was able to get it done. It looked to me like it might have been Trixtank's hammer, which is always inexcusable because it's easily body blockable. I mean, you just stand between the Fafnir and the Gold Fury and it doesn't steal it with the hammer. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
And it's so tough, even with Lightning Storm, because it ticks over time. It's not that immediate burst confirm that you'd like to have, so Zeus...
It still detonates. It gets it done.
Right. So that's what he really needs to try and find that actual final confirm, but PrettyPriMe, this time, is not able to lock it down. Dignitas walk in and take it. They do win the fight on the back end. Twig finds a double kill. That's huge, right? So they still get a lot on the back of it. They go right to Pyromancer right away as well. But that was a big chance for Obey. to push out in front.
Well, let's go to the Berenstain Bears universe for a second. Think of it this way. Let's say Obey, everything goes the same except Obey gets the Gold Fury. They still win the fight afterwards.
Right.
So the fact that they lose it is really, really critical in that spot.
Well, let's go back and take a look and see what it was that actually ended up stealing away that Gold Fury. Obey Alliance sleep just a little bit and can't lock it down. Variety blinks it as well. It's not the hammer.
It's Variety's detonate. Yeah, it's the
I think it's
running
dash.
through the monolith.
Yeah.
The explosion damage on the monolith is what gets it done. And that is some decent burst damage. Overhand smash was on the way. I mean, there's a lot to be contested. That still Obeys in percentage points. I'd still say Obey should be getting that 65% of the time, but 65-45 isn't a guarantee by any means.
And Obey Alliance let that one slip away. Dignitas now still very much within striking distance in this game as the two smaller objectives are off the map. Gold Fury went to dig. Obviously, Obey grabbed Pyro. The next big player would have to be FG, but I doubt Obey feel confident enough with that one. They still have a significant experience lead, about 8,000 out in front. Looks like that's mostly mid-jungle. Yeah, QvoFred and Zyrhoes are a good bit behind. So maybe they can try and capitalize there. This is curious. Zyrhoes is still behind, even though he hasn't been pressured a lot less this game.
He has been pressured a lot less, but Prime's been able to get a lot of red buffs, and it's been consistent red buff invades again from Obey Alliance, and that's where the deficit was really coming from last game as well.
Banish can't quite find the mark, so Obey might be trying to brute force down this tier 1 tower. Ataraxia is nearby, so they have plenty of damage for it. Trixtank going to step forward, not going to give up this tier 1 tower for free. Dignitas, without committing much, force Obey back.
Trix jumps forward, actually.
Okay.
It's on Ataraxia. Now, Trix does have that Draconic Corruption just in case he starts getting pulled, but here comes Quvo, 3-man Fear No Evil on the backside. iRaffer drops the cage, and Xaliea is looking to invite somebody to the party.
Lightning Storm comes down on top of him, nowhere for Variety to go. Trixtank is low as well and has to jump out. Pin hits two members, forces Zyrhoes up into the air with the Valkyrie's discretion, but the tier 1 tower comes tumbling down. A nice heal from Xaliea keeps everybody topped off, and Obey want to keep going.
Keep on marching, baby. If you could isolate Variety in these fights and kill him that quickly, it's going to go well for Obey Alliance. It was that it was taking too long in the late game of game 1, but we're not there yet. I mean, he's only level 17, and again, the lack of Phantom I find disturbing this time around because he's already 0-5.
Look at all the bead timers too, man. Twig, or not Twig, but QvoFred pulled all three of the ones that are on cooldown right now, all at the same time. Fire Giant being looked at now by Obey. QvoFred is here. He does not have the ult, but he did try with the overhead smash. But Obey secure the objective, and they're not healthy enough to look for the fight. They got to get out of here.
Good rotation in from Dignitas to make sure Quvo doesn't fall as well, but I love the confidence from Obey Alliance. They lose the Gold Fury, and so the next possible moment they get, let's do another one. Let's go right for the big boy this time around. We didn't get the gold, but they get the fire. They win the fight in mid, and Quvo is just not being able to have that same level of help on the back line this time around because Variety is being focused out earlier in the fight. That's the difference. Also, Trix jumping in right before that engagement starts off. He's trying to get Ataraxia to beads before Quvo blinks in, but Ataraxia has really good patience in that regard, is able to hold on to the purification beads. Quvo blinks in, gets 3 sets of beads, but then immediately has to jump out. But Quvo going in that way without Variety being able to blink in and help him means that Variety just needs to walk up towards him. And as soon as iRaffer sees that, drop the cage. Prime is the only one that didn't get hit by Fear No Evil. That means that Lightning Storm is right there alongside Detonate follow-up. Like we said in game 1, the most key member that Quvo needs to zone is Prime whenever Cage comes down, and that's the only one he didn't get.
Trixtank does still have the leap available. Another key difference is that last game, for whatever reason, it was a lot of just Prime and iRaffer trying to focus out Variety, right?
Yes.
And as good as Prime, as much damage Prime has, he wasn't going to burn down this Terra by himself. This game, they've done a much better job of saying, listen, if we're going to commit to Variety, then let's all do it. Like, all 5 of them are burning him. It's too fast, and they've been able to take out that Terra very early on, even grabbing a Gold Fury this time much easier.
Well, once the Fear No Evil is down and Variety is dead, Dignitas' setup isn't nearly as good because you think of this composition as Zyrhoes being the setup for Variety's stun and control after the fact, but what do you get? Whoop into Axe. That's good, but it's not. It's single target. It puts you out of position as a backliner. It's risky. Once you take Variety out of this, the team and Fear No Evil's down, the team fight for Dignitas is already lost unless Zyrhoes is able to get, I don't know, a quadra kill or something like that. That is basically the only way out at that point for Dig.
OB Alliance considering forcing down the Phoenix on the left-hand side. Cuvo was pulled over to the mid lane by CaptainTwig, who has a full wave. He's a legitimate threat that they have to go spend some attention on. Phoenix down to half HP, and it's only cost Raffer a little bit of health. Xaliea caught by the Banish. That's a nice chunk, but he can heal it up.
Twig is right on that Phoenix and is able to get at least a chunk off of it. But on the left-hand side, Raffer already low. Zyrhoes drops the ultimate as well. But the relics from Ataraxia were good, and Variety once again takes an early spill.
The axe does hit Xaliea, but he shrugs it off. Left side Phoenix should come down. Let's go ahead, fellas. There we go. Obey able to grab it. Now they can rotate right back over to mid because Twig did a good job keeping the minion wave right here at tower line, and they have to defend again without Variety.
Now, Ataraxia is a little bit poked out, but if he gets even lower, he can back to base and use Living Nightmare. That's the only ult still standing for Obey Alliance. Problem for them is that Fear No Evil is still up for QvoFred, and that's a big reason why I think they're backing up at this point. Fire Giant's only on for about 35 more seconds. Variety was down for a little bit longer, but with Ataraxia having no relics whatsoever, Xaliea having no relics whatsoever, seemed a little bit too risky for him.
Man, not by accident. This game has a lot of shades of Game 1, doesn't it? It's the same comps essentially, but it's also gone very similarly. Variety's been getting focused out early on. It's netted Obey Alliance an early lead. They didn't come across it as cleanly this time, but they certainly still have it. And now they're back to that siege stage. So the question becomes, will they have that same sort of lapse in judgment and awareness that allowed Dignitas to kind of fight their way back in with an FG, or can Obey keep their momentum going the whole time?
I don't know. I think that it'll be harder for Dignitas to sneak away a Fire Giant at this point. After having done it, it's probably fresh in the minds of Obey Alliance. You get a Fire Giant snuck away from you, and then it's like you've got a month where it won't happen again.
Right.
And then it will. They won't do it. We're good. We don't need to worry about it quite as much. You get a little bit more lax.
I know this is different, but that's why I feel so bad about that mouse play with Energy, because they did everything as right as you can do it. It was so warded around the Fire Giant, Ryan. It was so warded.
On one half.
Why ward your own jungle?
Did you see today in their games that
they were warding it? Yeah.
They had a ward between Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower. Yeah, right there where Doug's pointing it out. That was hilarious to me.
They're not letting that one happen again, and I don't blame them.
And you know whoever placed that is just like, adapting. Energy, 50 gold. There you go.
Can't believe it, but there they go. Obey Alliance grab the Tier 2, and instead of going for FG, they're giving a soft attempt here and right. They recognize QvoFred's not here just yet. Xaliea going to take half HP, and this is why I called it a soft attempt, right? They're not 100% sold on this. They're kind of just testing the defensive dig.
Good ward vision kind of lights the way for Obey Alliance. They might trying to set up an ambush around this corner. Variety does have Spirit Robe now, but that doesn't really help him that much in the midst of the cage. It's only if he gets knocked up and controlled by Twig before the damage from Prime starts coming. But if it's just a clean cage into a Zeus ultimate, I don't know how much Spirit Robe really helps him there.
Obey still haven't started up the Fire Giant. Now they'll turn back around. And it looks like Dignitas are going to let this one go and give their hand at an actual defense. And aside from Fear No Evil and Terra, I don't know how strong that Phoenix defense is. It's a lot relying on Variety and QvoFred.
If Arkkyl can continue to find cute little axes like he did right before that Obey decided to back up and go for fire, then it'll make the defense a little bit easier for Team Dignitas. Being able to poke out someone like Xaliea is going to be pretty critical, but that's not a reliable form of CC by any stretch.
Right side grouping now for Obey Alliance. Relics available for everyone, so the carries should all be relatively safe. All ultimates are here as well, and Fire Giant on all 5 members for Obey Alliance. One more time, you're watching QvoFred for Team Dignitas, and I'd imagine Prime for Obey Alliance to see where he can drop that lightning storm. Can he get enough value? Can he stay safe back here? Because Cuvo's certainly going to be looking to blink.
Ataraxia and Prime, watch those two getting too close together as well. But I like Ataraxia really hugging this wall. A lot like Giannis. As a Chernobog, you need to be as close to as many walls as possible at any given time to avoid any sort of damage or CC coming your way.
Still patience, though, from Obey Alliance. Dignitas having an easier time clearing than I expected. But it looks like they might actually have a minion advantage over there in left, obviously, from the Fire Wave. That could threaten that left Phoenix and demand some attention on that left-hand side to kind of break the stalemate. as Trixtank jumps in on Prime, who remains stationary. QvoFred blinks in. Beads and Aegis both come out from the mid lane mage to keep him alive, but Trixtank may have overcommitted, and Prime burns him down.
I mean, even if Trix jumps away, I don't think he's getting out of that situation. Just relying on Trix to go in first, I don't think is the best idea for Team Dignitas. Left side Phoenix fell already as Variety now gonna blink in, but Cage is still up.
And they don't even need to drop it, at least not yet. Now comes the Cage, no escape coming for Variety. The Lightning Storm brings down the hammer, double kill for PrettyPriMe. Xaliea finds Zyrhoes as well. Obey Alliance much cleaner in game 2. Only QvoFred is left to be the goalie, and he's just not gonna be enough. Obey Alliance force a game 3.
Great game from Obey Alliance. That last fight, Zyrhoes steps one toe inside the Lightning Storm, and as he's floating in the sky, Prime gets to just pull him straight down with that detonate. Good team play that time from Obey, and they remedy the problem, which was they waited too long to just be going Cage into Zeus ult on Variety every fight. They also were a little bit too aggressive with it, and I think that really affected Variety in that last team fight, where instead of him going in with QvoFred, which is where Dignitas found their success in game 1, he stays way, way, way far back and blinks in after everyone had already reset and had communicated what had been used, what do we still have. Those are important moments in team fights to communicate with your team on who, okay, I don't have relics, I need extra help. We still have Cage, so if Variety comes in, let's do it. If Variety comes in when Prime is going, I don't have relics, there might be a little bit more confusion, but instead he waits so long that Obey is able to get set and then kill him easily again.
Who's your MVP from game number 2? Vote for us now in that mixer poll.
Zeus!
Probably Prime, I think is fair to say. He had an extra performance on that one. But I gotta ask you, that last jump in from Trixtank, that's how they wanted to start the initiation. That just feels like a slower blink, right? It's like now Zyrhoes is kind of like, oh, I guess you guys are you're on your way to start something, or Prime is like, you want to start this?
Here's my assumption on how that conversation went.
Right.
Variety, you blink in with Cubo. I'm not doing that. They kill me every time. Well, Cubo, I can't go in by myself. You know, I need someone with me, and Trix is like, okay, I guess I'll jump in, but this probably isn't gonna work. It didn't work.
It ends up coming the way of Obey Alliance. We've got a game 3 about to get underway. Let's get it back over to the analyst, though, to break it down.
Well, the salty runback, Taco called it best. Obey do end up winning. The only change in those two rosters, all game 1 for Arkkyl, Jing game 1 for Arkkyl, all game 2. And game 2, I mean, he got the 2 kills that Dignitas got for themselves this game.
He did, indeed, but he didn't have the same amount of survivability to escape as easily from the clutches of Obey. One of those deaths especially, a bit... Arkkyl has some regrets for sure after getting pulled in by that life of the party. That was a cheeky one from around the corner. Didn't think that it would actually stand a chance to bring him back into that engagement, but Dignitas did a great job, I think, around contesting the objectives. That Gold Fury steal in particular, I don't think that Obey can really permit those kind of circumstances to ever come about. I think that Obey need to clean it up just a little bit around their objective play, but for the most part, a lot of those team fights went a lot smoother than game 1.
PrettyPriMe will be your MVP with the 18,955 player damage. Zeus Juice still doing things. I mean, game 1 he had a tough time of things and it didn't work out as well as he were hoping for, but this time he got a little bit better protection. He was able to just sit at the back a lot deeper.
Just look at how far back he was in that one clip alone. It's like the Odin cage would come, and the first place you'd see Prime go is to the very back of the team fight, and then he decides, I can push it.
How many times does he just keep falling back there? Drops the ult, falls back, gets the kills. But this was the composition that, you know, Dignitas played against in game 1. But this time round, Obey made some adjustments that really came up fortuitous for them.
I think the Zeus pick as well, into the Fear No Evil, that was rather difficult for Cuvo especially to try and work around, because normally when you're Humbatsi and drop that Fear No Evil, you want the rest of your team to jump right on top of that and start to get involved, but it was just prevented from that Zeus ultimate, and the impact wasn't felt so much in game 1. I think game 1 was a little bit more pick dependent in terms of both sides just looking for those single moments in team fights, but game 2, he felt the impact for sure of that Zeus.